Chapter 3, Don't Tell My Mom. I saw Joey every day until he left for boot camp, which ended up being only about 5 days later. Whether it was for 5 minutes or 5 hours, my mom knew he was leaving and granted him permission to come over even when no one was home. It was our first Valentine's Day together. When Joey walked in, I hugged him tightly, trying to get as many hugs as I could before he left. Inside a deep embrace, he said,
"I want to take you somewhere."
"Where?" I asked, looking up but only seeing the underside of his chin. He looked down at me.
"A special place."
"What's that supposed to mean?" He released me from our hug and looked up again.
"I've been staying somewhere new, and I spent all day making something special just for you."
"So you haven't been sleeping at your aunt's house?"
"No. I got into it with my aunt's husband. She and him have been going back and forth for years. He would leave for a while, but he always seems to find his way back."
Joey would not look at me at all while he spoke, and I got into his car a bit stunned that he got into an argument with his sweet aunt.
"When I got home, a few nights ago, I found my aunt in her bedroom beat up and crying. She refused to press charges, so I went out looking for him. When he showed back up at the house, he was liquored up and in a rage. We ended up getting into an altercation. Words were exchanged, but it eventually came to blows. It ended with him losing a couple teeth and receiving busted lips. My aunt asked me to leave, so I did."
I sat there in utter astonishment that Joey didn't tell me the day that this happened. I just couldn't imagine Joey hitting someone. When he removed his hand from the shifter to his leg, it was shaking. I could see that Joey was doing an amazing job hiding that he was still shaken up. When we got to the hotel, Joey made me close my eyes as he opened the door. He put his hands on my hips and led me through the entrance.
"Open now."
The room light was off, but I could see a tea light lined walkway that led to a heart, made out of pink rose petals. Bright red, helium-filled balloons were placed strategically all over the room. There were photos of Joey and I on the bed and a small hand-drawn "Will you be mine?" sign. On the dresser next to me was a giant bouquet of glittery pink roses and a box of my favorite chocolates. A small brown bear sat at the chair by the table, and when I pressed his hand, I heard Joey's voice. I was so happy that I was jumping up and down and crying.
"Do you like it?"
"Like it?" "Joey, I love it. This is my first Valentine's Day with a boyfriend, and I had no idea you were going to do so much. I feel bad that I only have this for you," I said as I pulled out the handmade card from my purse and handing it to him.
"This is perfect, babe."
Joey said, smiling as if I'd just handed him $1 million. I moved all of my gifts from the bed to the table and flopped down to eat my chocolate. I saw Joey get up. I just assumed that he was going to use the bathroom, but when I looked over again, Joey was standing in the hallway staring at me. He was wearing only his birthday suit and his sneakers. His fingers were interlocked and modestly covering his manhood. I slid down the front of the bed and stared at him like a deer in headlights. He robotically took one step toward me, and I bolted in the other direction. I ran towards the door, doing my best to avoid all the Valentine's Day decorations. I'd never seen a boy completely bare before now. Before I could get the room door open, Joey pounced on me like a cheetah on prey. We both ended up toppling out of the doorway. I felt a tingle between my thighs, and we both laughed hysterically. He gently tossed me onto one of the double beds, and intuitively, I knew what was about to happen. It was the most quintessential moment in a girl's life, and I was about to give away my innocence to Joey. He took my clothes off slowly, admiring each stage. He was very gentle and patiently slow, but Joey was very well endowed. I'm not speaking from a virgin's perspective either. The boy was packing. It was a lot more painful than I'd imagined, and my silence must have made him nervous or uncomfortable.
"Do you want me to stop?"
he asked while he was making his way inside of me. I just looked up at him and shook my head from side to side, because I knew if I moved my lips, they'd quiver. I looked around trying to find something to focus on, and I saw a red Valentine's Day balloon floating in the corner, so I just stared at it. Everything was for pleasure, except when he stuck his finger in my butt. That felt a bit strange to me. I wasn't sure if I liked it or not, so I paused him right then and expressed my concern about that particular activity. I promised that we'd revisit it at a later date and allowed him to proceed, sans the anal probing. After several minutes of him on top of me, the thrusting stopped, and he slowly pulled out. I sat up shaking, and my lady bits throbbed with experience. When I stood, I noticed the blood and tried to hide it. Joey walked back in from cleaning himself, stared at the blood, at me, then back at the blood again. I wasn't really sure what was going through his mind, but he looked at me like he'd just run over my puppy. At that moment, I knew that his conscience hurt far worse than my vagina. We never talked about sex, especially not about having it. He must have convinced himself that there was no way I was still a virgin. After our first time together, Joey and I did not have sex again before he shipped out. I dreaded the idea that I would have to say goodbye to the first boy that I'd ever loved. He told me last night that he would be over at 7:30 in the morning to say goodbye. It was after 9 o'clock now, and Joey wasn't answering. I started to tear up. What if he forgot about coming by? The high-pitched ding of my doorbell interrupted my internal meltdown. It rang out 3 times back-to-back and echoed down my foyer. I raced to the door, and it was Joey. It didn't feel especially hot outside, but he was actively panting and out of breath. There wasn't a single dry spot on his shirt because he was drenched in sweat and looked like he'd just run a triathlon. "What happened? I thought you forgot about me," I said as I hugged and kissed his sticky neck. Joey said nothing. He just held on to me, smelling my hair.
Never, 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 baby girl. I had to drop my car off at my dad's house, and then I hopped on the city bus.
The bus? You took the bus all the way here from the other side of town? I asked, knowing full well that route would have taken hours.
Yes, I didn't think it would take that long, but I had to see you.
He said, still trying to regain regular breathing rhythm. Why didn't you call me?
I left nearly everything I own in my dad's garage. I can't bring it with me to basic. All I was focused on this morning was getting to you.
Okay, but why are you so out of breath?
The bus dropped me off at the store down the street, so I had to jog here.
Joey, that's like 4 blocks away. Just then, a light blue minivan skidded onto the grass next to my mailbox. Joey turned around and we both watched a man in uniform come from the driver's side and open the sliding side door. Joey, what's going on?
Hunter, I've been looking everywhere for you. You were supposed to report to my office at 0800.
The recruiter shouted from the street. How did he find you? Are you microchipped? I asked cautiously and grabbed Joey by the arm.
No, baby girl. You are my emergency contact.
Let's go, Hunter.
The recruiter demanded angrily. Joey gently locked his fingers with mine and we walked toward the street together. Halfway down my driveway, Joey stopped and turned to face me, giving his back to the hostile recruiter.
Right now. Get your ass in the fucking car, Hunter.
The recruiter shouted every word, all while making eye contact with me from over Joey's shoulder. The way the recruiter spoke to Joey, a passerby would have thought he was some sort of criminal, and not a brave man who just signed up to serve his country.
1 more minute, please.
Joey pleaded as I looked into the eyes of the hard-faced man in the military uniform. What am I supposed to do without you? I looked at Joey's face with welling eyes. You are my everything, and I don't want you to go.
I have to go, baby. I'm sorry that you're sad, but these next couple weeks are going to fly by. Watch, you'll see. I love you, Haley.
Don't forget about me. I practically begged as Joey was being literally pulled away from me.
Not possible. I'm going to marry you when I get back.
Was all Joey could manage to get out before he was all but dragged into the van. The door slammed shut, mimicking the sound of my heart shattering. They pulled off the curb, leaving behind black skid marks on the street in front of my house. In that instance, I found it terribly hard to breathe. My vision got blurry, and I felt like my head was going to spin off my shoulders. The further away they got, the harder it was for me to catch my breath. I could feel myself falling, but I was unable to extend my arms to catch myself. I collapsed onto the sidewalk and sobbed violently as the cold concrete scraped my cheek. My next-door neighbor's dad must have heard all the commotion because he came out and peeled me up off the cement.
It's okay, Haley. I called your mother. She's on her way home.